Whoa, breaking news, Canada. Wow. I'm so glad there are a few, activists or at least brave judges left in this country. But here we go. Headline news. I think we all kind of seen, or at least hoped, that this verdict would come to light. But as we all know, it's always up in the air when you're talking about central planners or anyone that works for government, right? It can go one way or the other. That's the power of indoctrination, and depends on. I've even heard it said by judges before. Judges aren't supposed to make or base their decisions on political leanings. It's supposed to be based on objective evidence and logic and reasoning, right? But we all know that politicians and political populists hold great power and sway over judges, because the judges have to function in that environment. But this particular judge seemed to have stayed strong and firm in his convictions. Well, I guess one of the first things that I heard that was tweeted out about this, the Ghomeshi Trial is what we're talking about, by the way. Ghomeshi, with these three feminazis that were trying to take him down. And if you were paying attention to the story, which I think most Canadians were, you realize that, they were opportunists using their power and of populism and their political propagandists and those in the media that will promote and support them. They were hoping that they could take Ghomeshi down and set a precedent. But this particular judge, one of the first things that he said during his when he was talking about, as far as his decision today, was, let's make it known basically right here now. This is not a direct quote, obviously. I'm just basically paraphrasing what he said. Read the article if you want to know the exact words. Was basically, in a justice system, everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. You have to prove guilt. And in Canada and in any country that pretends or reports to go by the rule of law, you have to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So if there's any chance that there's even a slight reasonable doubt, well, you have to presume them innocent. Even if you think in the back of your head, there's a small chance they might be guilty. If there's the slightest presumption of innocence, if there's the slightest question regarding that guilt or innocence, the premise, the basis for our legal judicial system is you always have to err on the side of innocence, not guilty. And fortunately, this judge recognized and acknowledged that fact, and he pointed that out at the very first. That was one of the first parts of his decision, was to state very clearly that everybody, when brought to him in a court of law, when presented before him, you are presumed innocent. And it's up to those who are trying to charge and convict you to prove that you are guilty. That is so foundationally important. No matter what society you live in a statist society or a voluntarist society or a libertarian or anarchist society, no matter what kind of society or what kind of country or no area, geographical landmass, whatever kind of word that you want to define, the particular area in which you live in, we all have to have laws that have to be universal and everyone has to abide by. And the premise of that is, which has been hammered out through hundreds, centuries, millennia. It's taken hundreds and hundreds of years, but we've finally understood through all the errors and all the oppressions of the past that the most important thing that we can do is presume everyone to be innocent until there is conclusive proof that they are guilty. Lack of conclusive proof that the person in question is guilty, without conclusive proof, we have to err on the side of caution and hand down a verdict of innocence. Now, in this case, this judge acknowledged that, yeah, I mean, just based on the testimony alone of these women, I mean, there were so many contradictions. I mean, the picture was painted pretty quickly and very vividly that, yeah, they were just trying to attack Ghomeshi and use their populist propaganda and this, rape culture narrative that's presented by the feminazis in this country. They were hoping that they could run with that and use that populism that they believed was entrenched in the Canadian psyche. They were hoping that they could railroad this guy and come out on top, smelling like roses. Well, they were wrong. This judge, he put a stop to that nonsense, that concept, real quick, and said no, not guilty on all charges. You could not conclusively prove his guilt, therefore innocent. Justice was handed down properly today, as it should be. I'm not trying to even suggest for 1 minute that John Ghomeshi is some superiorly moral human being. I don't do it for a minute. The guy's probably a little bit of a dick, maybe a little bit overly aggressive in his lovemaking, or maybe he has a small penis and has to make up that with being a domineering male. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. So it's all, this is all just completely subjective, what I'm saying. I'm just giving an opinion, right? But regardless of who he is or what he's like, or his faults, the fact of the matter remains that these women lied on the stand and they kept coming back. Victims, that's the thing, male, female, or anywhere in between, unless you're children, you might be able to make exception because their mind hasn't grown or expanded enough that they understand, true fundamentals of what right and wrong is. Well, although most children do pretty early on. But either way, as an adult, once you become an adult like these ladies of John Ghomeshi, I mean, if he was supposedly overly aggressive or sexually abusive towards you, if you keep going back, don't fucking look to the courts after you realize that, I was such an idiot for doing so. Don't look to the courts to destroy the man's life because you were an idiot. You need to own up and accept the responsibility of your actions. Male and female, both. If you're an adult, own up to the responsibility of your actions. And the judge, basically, in his decision, said the very same thing. Own up to your bullshit, ladies. Deal with the fucking fact that you were stupid enough. Yeah, I mean, if this man supposedly was being overly aggressive sexually, well, you should have made that known primarily after the first incident happened and never went back and told him that you respected and admired. I mean, like I said, it was all bullshit. So that's like a person that made a really bad decision, and then the next day they realize that was a stupid decision, and then trying to impose hardships on other people for their own fucking stupid decisions. This judge said, no, you made a stupid decision, now own up to it. Man up, woman up, right? Good for him. Best decision, I think, best outcome that could have come from this bullshit. I hope a lot of ladies out there recognize and realize, take it upon yourself. Be smart. Be wise. I don't care if it's to a man, a central planner, or another woman. Take it upon yourself to assume the responsibility of every action that you do. If you choose, just like if you choose to walk down Queen Street 2 o'clock in the morning wearing a bikini, Not that I would ever suggest that rape is good or moral or just, but at least accept and assume the responsibility that you were the one that put yourself in a position that you were enticing the evil people among us. Don't entice them. Be smart, be wise, use common sense, use logic, use reasoning. I wouldn't walk down, and if you think I'm trying to talk about it from the lady's perspective, even for a man, do you think me, and I'm a strong, courageous individual, recognize that, but I still wouldn't walk downtown in some urban center with my wallet hanging out of the back pocket with money being displayed like a neon light, $100 bills hanging out of my wallet. If I did that and I got robbed, well, of course I would recognize that fucking idiot whoever robbed me was immoral for doing so, but I would also acknowledge that I brought it upon myself for not being responsible and being more personally responsible for my actions, I guess. That's really what it comes down to. We have to hold ourselves to be personally responsible first. If you've done that, and then somebody imposes their will or theft or oppression or sexual deviance upon you, of course, you're in a perfect position that yes, those people should be punished accordingly and penalized for anything that they've done to you. But the onus is on you, first and foremost, to be responsible. No one else can do that for you. Don't look to a central planner or a government or a policeman or a policewoman or anyone else. You have to own up and accept the responsibility for yourself. That's first and foremost. That's fundamentally the most principally important thing every human being can do, socially and economically, and in the current paradigm, politically. Own up and be responsible for your own actions and for your own decisions. This is Canadian Libertarian. I love liberty.